here. So these microphones that are up here are very sensitive. They'll pick up your crinkling paper, your side conversation. So if you need to have a conversation, just ask you to step into the lobby briefly to do that and come back. We will we'll get to the comment period later. So our first item on the agenda is rulemaking timelines. Dr. Hoffman, our Policy and Rules Manager, will take us through that quickly. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Postman and board members Garrett and Mollendroff. This morning I am keeping our update short since I provided a more robust update yesterday. And I think it's safe to say that there are many joining us here today who are interested in the next agenda item and might like to move to it as soon as possible. So briefly, new alcohol rule projects have been temporarily paused while we fill our alcohol rules coordinator position, and we hope to have that position filled in the coming weeks. And for cannabis rules, we hosted our first World Cafe session on cannabis plant canopy last week, and we anticipate hosting a second World Cafe on November 16th. This varies slightly from our original timeline that was tentative, of course, but only by a few weeks. With respect to cannabis advertising, internal discussions continue, but this project will go on temporary pause while we fill the lead position for that project as well. And in November, we plan on bringing a CR 101, so that's the rule inquiry, to take a closer look at cannabis sampling based on a recently approved rule petition. So with respect to general rulemaking, the expedited rules concerning updates to email and physical addresses throughout our rules has not received any comment to date. We do plan on bringing the 103, the final rules for adoption, to you for presentation on November 9th, and rules will become effective on or about December 10th. So stop there and ask if there are any questions on just general updates on.
Any questions on the update?
I have none.
Being done?
All right.
Move on. Thank
And
you.
we'll move on to item 3. And that concerns the CR 103, or final rules for the social equity and cannabis program. So this morning, I'd like to ask for your approval to file the CR 103 and adopt rules to establish the social equity and cannabis program. I'd like to start with a little bit of procedural history about this work. And although this is memorialized in the CR 103 memo that is part of the rule package, I think it's important to walk through it as we take this step towards creating socially equitable conditions in the Washington State cannabis industry. So we filed the CR 101 almost a year ago on October 27th. The public comment period for that CR 101 ended on December 17th of last year, and no comments were received. Our rule drafting then followed 2 distinctly separate tracks. The first had to do with revisions and updates to existing cannabis licensing rules. And remember, this was before House Bill 1210 had passed that changed the word marijuana to cannabis throughout Washington State statute. And then the second track was the creation of the new rules section, and that's to establish the social equity and cannabis program, and that's WAC 314.55.570. We hosted a virtual listen and learn session on draft conceptual rules on March 23rd with over 120 individuals in attendance. And we finalized that proposal and brought it to the board for approval on April 13th. But as we reviewed that proposal and based on comments received, we opted to withdraw it on May 11th to allow for more time for research, outreach, and analysis. And so we refiled the proposal on August 3rd. Public hearing was held on September 14th. And at the public hearing, 3 oral comments were offered during the hearing, and 13 written comments were received. We considered each of these comments, and there are no substantive changes between the proposal and what is before you today for consideration for adoption based on any of those comments. So when we say substantive change, we mean revision that would change the function or impact of the rules, such as something that would broaden or narrow the application of the rule or broaden or narrow qualification criteria in any way. Those kinds of changes would require us to go back and go through the proposal process anew. and provide for another public hearing. So that would, increase delay by 4 to 6 months before we could ever get to another adoption phase. So the few changes that were provided provide clarity and pick up on typographical errors or oversights that sometimes happen in rule drafting, but do not change the function of the rule proposal. And so, for instance, in the concise explanatory statement on the last page, there's a listing of the changes from the proposal that was up for hearing on September 14th and the rules that are presented for adoption today. And so again, these are minor things like changing the word marijuana to cannabis, where we didn't pick it up on the first draft, corrected two typographical errors in the scoring rubric, and then added the word maximum to total points in the scoring rubric, and then added an additional clarification in subsection 6C. So that's 314.55.570.6C that talks about when the board can withdraw a social equity application, and then renumbered the section. So again, minor changes there. So if approved for filing today, I'll file with the code revisor, and rules would become effective 31 days after today, or November 12th of 2022. But before I close, there's a couple of additional things I'd like to say, if I may, about these rules and the work that we've done together to get them to this place. So first, I want to acknowledge that it's going to take some time to operationalize these rules, because they're just one brick in the road to creating this program. We have a bit more road building to do before we can begin to accept this, and we speak to this in the CR 103 memo under implementation. And while we know so many want to apply to participate in this program as soon as rules become effective, and if adopted today, of course, that would be November 12th, we anticipate being able to accept applications in 2023. We'll continue to keep everyone updated at caucus and board meetings, executive management team meetings, on our website, through messaging about progress and when the application window becomes open. And then secondly, I'd like to extend my gratitude to our licensing team for their extraordinary work in designing this program and working with me to realize its structure and rule. Thank you for thinking about what could be in ways that reduce structural barriers, but more importantly, grounding that work in why it should be, because that why is and continues to be our purpose. And as the leader of the licensing program, I'd like to especially acknowledge Becky Smith, both professionally and personally. Her commitment to this work, to change, and to stay the course has inspired many, including me. And Board Member Garrett, thank you for your leadership and always centering the why of this work. Your commitment to social equity, your determination, and your unwavering support of the significant change it represents, has served as a model for me, and I'm sure many others. And so with that, I'd like to ask for your adoption of these rules to establish the social equity and cannabis program, and approval to file them today with the code revisor.
Great, thank you, Kathy. First, I'll see if there's any questions for Dr. Hoffman at this point. And if not, before we take a motion to approve, comments from the board?
This is Ali. I would like to echo what Kathy said. Becky and licensing put in lots of hours participating with the Social Equity Task Force, making sure that there was staff on every meeting that we had, and even setting up our internal Social Equity Task Force within the agency. So I want to thank License and the entire agency, because on the internal Social Equity Task Force that we have is representatives from enforcement and the entire agency. So thank you all for the work that went into getting this to the adoption stage. And like Kathy said, we have a lot more work to do here, but thank you all.
And I'd like to just echo the comments that Ollie just made and thank licensing in particular for their work and the rules team. Government has a role to play in social equity. And I've been extremely impressed in the short 4 months that I've been with the LCB of the work and dedication of the staff to assure that we get this right and that we implement this quickly and well. So just again, thank everybody for their work on this. And I have to say that as a newer board member, I am super proud to be here today to be a part of this decision and process.
Great, thank you. I too will echo the echoes. We will have a chance to celebrate down the line when we have businesses open and running and we can show that this works. And that's why we're doing this. But it is an opportunity today to really acknowledge the work that got us here. I want to name a couple of people. Of course, Becky Smith, our Director of Licensing, but from her team, Caitlin Bomba, Jeannie McShane, Linda Thompson, Nicola Reed, Sarah Davis, and Tina Huska really were the core group that as Dr. Hoffman said, came up with this program. And then they worked with policy and rules to figure out how to get it down in writing and to turn it into what we just approved here today, which is an art and a science all by itself. And it was all done under the leadership of our director, Rick Garza, who was intimately involved in this process. And I just want to visit the part of this process where we came and pulled down the previous draft rules proposal. It's the only time in my time here where we did that and then came back with a different product. And sometimes not doing something is the hardest thing to do. That's the toughest decision. And the decision was made that we weren't ready, that it wasn't enough. And that came from some really important moments. And one of them was what staff heard at the Listen and Learn when more than 100 people came and talked about really candidly what was missing and where we might have not done as much. And then staff, and this is what really just such a, I think, a great sign of the way the staff works, is kept challenging themselves and each other, and with member Garrett's leadership, poking. And after that, Listen and Learn, saying, well, maybe we got to pull it down, knowing that would be disruptive, knowing that would delay this date here a little bit. And then sitting down with the lawyers and others and saying, what if we had a clean slate here? What would we do? How do we make this better? How do we, you can use choose your hackneyed phrase. How do we lean in here? What do we do? And we did it. And so that came from Becky, Ollie, Rick, and others on the team who just said it's not enough. That's hard to do in any endeavor. That's hard to do, to say, oh, this thing I've worked on for a year isn't all I want it to be. And so we're going to take it down and do it again. And we're going to open ourselves to that criticism, the delays that we know are endemic to this process. But I think we all should feel better about the product. And I really want to thank the people that came to talk to us, not just at the Listen and Learn, which was a huge number of people, but the people who come to board meetings, some every other week, and talk about this. And many of them who do it in a engaging and civil and a productive manner. Sometimes the conversations were tough. Sometimes they weren't really even conversations. But I learned a ton. And I think one of the signs of the success of this for me, and I hope, is that some of the people who have been engaged in this process will see their work in this product, that it's different today than it was because of what we heard and because of our ability to reconsider. So thank you to all the members of the public who have educated me on this, some by email and meetings and conversations out on the street and everything else. So it's meant a lot. I want to pause for a second, give Rick Garza a chance to say something before we entertain a vote here. Rick?
Thank you, Chair Postman. Let me turn my camera on. I just thank you for taking the time to recognize the work of everyone in the staff, David, and board members. Thank you for your words. Ollie, it was several years ago. Wish I could say it was sooner, but it wasn't, that we began to take some trips to look at the other states to see, given that social equity was not in the initiative, it was not part of the process when we opened up licensure back 7 years ago. But we knew that there needed to be something done there. And you began that work. I remember a trip to Massachusetts where you went to meet with Massachusetts and what they were doing with their social equity program, which led to staff and yourself and others looking more closely at what will work, what is working in the other states and the other local jurisdictions. And so one thing about you, Ollie, that I've always appreciated is your patience with this process. Because I can remember time and time again where you would say, oh my goodness, Rick, how much longer are we going to wait to put this program in place? And it has taken a lot of time. So I appreciate your patience. And then, you know, Kathy and Kathy and Becky, you know, the rules and the licensing team, you've talked about it. It's been work they've been doing for a couple of years. I wouldn't want to forget, you know, Penny and Jonathan, who helped us as our assistant AGs and trying to figure out how we're going to make this program stand up and get us what we need. And I think it's, you know, there's people in, I'm sure, downstairs from the community who have been patient with us through this process, some that obviously haven't, and I understand that. But those that have, who started with some pretty tough feelings about what needed to be done and what wasn't done. And I think we all recognize that it's taken quite some time to get where we are. It begins the path, the road to where we want to be. There's so much work yet to be done. But just a great, really thank you, Chair Postman, for recognizing everyone and the staff for the work that they've been doing the last couple of years on this, and appreciate the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rick. Yeah, and all that patience of the community and others will be for naught if we don't get this next piece done. And I think we're well aware of that, and we're ready to be held accountable for getting this out the door. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the CR 103 regarding social equity in cannabis.
I move approval, adoption of the CR 103 regarding social equity in cannabis.
And a second?
This is Jim, and I second that motion.
Great, and then that is approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Okay, and now we move to our general public comment. This is the opportunity for anybody to address the board on any issue. We have people online and people in the room today, and we will do that. We'll begin with those that are here in person today. I think we did it the other way last time, then move on to those who have joined us virtually. And those of you that are online, when we do call your name, sometimes remember it takes a second for us to find you on the list and unmute you. We know you might need a second to get ready. So we'll be patient, you be patient. We'll make sure everybody has a chance to talk. Again, everything is recorded. When you begin, it would be great if you could state your name and affiliation, if any, for the record. You get 4 minutes to say what you want. When you have 30 seconds left, Dustin will jump in even as you're mid-sentence, just to remind you that the time is ticking there. And then at 4, we're going to ask you to wrap up. So with that, in the room, Peter Manning, it's first person signed up. Good morning.
Yeah, seems like it's always me first. Huh?
It does, yeah.
I'd like to thank Chair Postman and Board Member Algier and Board Member Valandroff for this opportunity to speak. I speak today as a representative of Black Excellence in Cannabis. I'm happy with where we're at now. As many of you guys know, I'm like a dinosaur when it comes to social equity in Washington as far as cannabis. In 2015, I embarked on it on a solo tip, bringing light to the fact that there wasn't Black or brown inclusion into this industry. And I felt that At that time, I felt it was done purposefully. And I'm not sure if I was right about that or on target, but I did recognize that there was a lack of color to this industry. And I made that very clear. And I have been fighting this whole time. And still to this day, we have no social equity. There's not one Black-owned store in King County. There's not one Black-owned store in Seattle. That's heartbreaking for me. Being a pioneer in my community, I now have a Heart, which is owned by some white individuals, but those opportunities were robbed from us. And I look at our struggle, and I want to believe in what people tell me. I want to believe in that we're going to work this out. But I was disappointed this week that my vice president called me and said, "Hey, do you know that the LCB has chosen a third-party vendor that's going to vet those license applications?" And I said, "No, we should have got word from them prior to that, just so we could have a discussion about it, and they could give us some type of backdrop on who they are and why they selected them, and et cetera." We got none of that. And see, this is the problem I have, is because it's like, here we go again. It's the same playbook. 2015, 2014, I was there. This is Rick Garza. He is going around giving presentations on I-502. This is primarily to all the white neighborhoods and communities. This is what the LCB did to let white people know that, hey, we're finna open up this program. You guys should come participate. This did not occur in my neighborhood. This did not. And here we are talking about social equity. And I think the same attention that was afforded to those groups should be afforded to Black people. If you're truly making social equity for the Black and brown community, there has to be transparency on how this is going to go down. Because it's a trust issue between my community and the LCB. There's a trust issue between my community and the government. There's a trust issue. And why? It's a trust issue because there is no Black participation in the cannabis industry. We need more transparency on how this process is going to work. This is why I'm here today. I brought people here that were affected by the rules, the war on drugs, as well as the rulemaking, the last rulemaking, I-502, that excluded the majority of these people out of the industry. And here we are today we're talking about the social equity for Black people, but Black people aren't included in the process. We didn't even know about the third party. If it had not been for the diligence of Mike Asai, the VP, we probably wouldn't have known it today.
Seconds, Peter.
But anyway, I conclude, but we just need transparency. We want to be afforded the same opportunity as that of whites, and we need to be made aware of how we're proceeding forward from this point on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Damian Mims.
Hello, I'm Damian Mims with Black Excellence in Cannabis. So House Bill 2870 established 6/11/2020 to reduce barriers for individuals and communities most adversely impacted by the enforcement of drug-related laws. It's an act relating to allowing additional marijuana retail licenses. 6/11/2020. It's now 10/12/22, over 2 years later and counting. How many social equity licenses are out there? How many social equity grants are out there? If you read that bill, page 1, line 15 to page 2, line 6, I'd say they got that part right. I'd like to give a shout out to Ollie Garrett for support the social equity movement. Thank you, Ollie. I had to get that in there. Moving on, I would also like to ask why the extra regulation regarding the mobility of the social equity license? How wouldn't mobility help social equity? How would a mobile social equity license do any harm? Is this another form of redlining? Where's the community outreach to Black and brown people? There are questions, too many unanswered questions regarding the social equity application process. Let's call it the gray area. It's been my experience when it comes to interpreting policy in the gray area of unanswered questions the benefit always goes to the entity doing the interpretation. From here, I'd like to yield my time to Jeremy, if that's possible, so he can speak after me.
He is next signed up, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I give him the
I think
remainder
he
of my
wants to
time?
give- Yeah, that's supposed to, he wants to.
He has 2 minutes, he has 2 minutes that he'd like to yield to me. so-
Yeah,
We don't do it that way. We just have to, everyone gets 4 minutes.
Okay, so
So
just
you can have your 4 minutes.
okay, well,
That's just that's
thank-
our rule, and I don't want to start.
thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate the
Of
opportunity.
course, good to see you. Okay. Mr. Lance, you're up and you get your 4 minutes.
Okay. I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to come and share our ideas and our concerns with you today. I just want to start by saying that in the case of the allegations, recent allegations surrounding the conduct of Representative Morgan and her role in the social equity in Cannabis Task Force, we ask that you please not saddle us with the unwarranted suspicion and bias that may be associated, or that would be associated with our goals as an organization, with any misconduct or behavior of those who claim to share our desire for equity. In essence, we're only here to address a few pressing questions. Those being, 1, what is known? 2, what has been promised? And 3, what direct action is being taken to address it? On that note, let's start with a little bit of truth telling. It is a fact that our request for fairness has indeed been heard. We're very, very pleased with that. We have been given validation, and it's been solidified as a necessary update to policy from within these very walls, that our stake in social equity is necessary. You cannot have equity if it is not equal. With regard to Washington's legalization laws, voters approved it in 2012. At that point, it's obvious that addressing past prohibition harms were not included. What we're wondering is why we're still quibbling over what, where, who, and how to begin the disbursement process, of which there's been, in our experience, no movement. We all know the numbers, according to the ACLU, about incarceration rates of Blacks, right alongside whites who have the same usage but get incarcerated at higher rates. We have not recovered from this. And not having recovered from that, we still find ourselves in a place where right now, the most important thing to us is to be given clear, like my brother said here, clear information on how this will affect us today. Let's say one more thing and wrap this up. By our research, Washington State has collected $559.5 million in legal marijuana income and license fees in the fiscal year of 2021. Data is available for you. Let's be clear, we are not here to beg. And furthermore, our efforts are committed to improving the lives of those taken from our community using discriminatory laws and predatory practices.
Jeremy, you have 30 seconds.
Yes. Where we are now is, this is race. The race is something that we should never have been about. It should never have been about race. It should never have been what race is as something you do versus something you are. We're here because we need to level the playing field. And we can only do that through clear communication
non-misrepresentation. And with that, I welcome the next person in line to speak their piece. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir.
I appreciate it, council.
Very much. Mike Asai is our next person signed up. Mike? You're the next and the last in the in-person list. Mike. Yeah. Morning.
Good morning, board members, Ali Garrett, Valendrauf, Chair Postman, and good morning to the audience. My name is Mike Asai, founder of Emerald City Collective, first downtown Seattle dispensary. I am Vice President of Black Excellence in Cannabis. In my hand is the proof of the manipulation we at Black Excellence in Cannabis have been saying for over a year. Melanie Morgan is not my representative. She does not speak for the African American community. Her job and only job was to delay the process. This is a sad day for the Black and brown community. 7 years ago today, October 12th, 2015, House Bill 5052 went into effect, with the LCB stating no rush to apply in bold letters. 2 years ago today, LCB had its third listen and learn session. Today, there still has not been any social equity licenses issued. Why have 3 listen and learn sessions in 2020 when it became time for the LCB to issue the first social equity program draft rules? It became apparent the LCB rather listened to the compromised social equity task force than the voices from the listen and learn session. We pioneers have been traumatized being cut out of this billion-dollar business. That's all I wrote there. And I'll just go on the fly. We are supportive of the LCB, but at the same time, we know there's been manipulation done on many different levels. So we're highly concerned in going forward in this process. As stated today, now the licenses are not going out until 2023. We understand that the LCB is trying to do the right thing, but we've been delayed enough. I have been delayed enough. My brothers and sisters in Black Excellence in Cannabis and the Black and brown community have been delayed enough. This has been done on purpose. We want it to stop. We want the right thing to happen going forward. We're here speaking for the Black and brown community. Black Excellence in Cannabis is here. It's been here since 2014 with Peter Manning coming down here, sounding the alarm. That's the man. City of Seattle decided not to speak with us in regards to the signing of the social equity. We would not have a social equity program in this state if it wasn't for Peter Manning, Aaron Barfield, Ali Garrett, Paula Sardinas, and former Representative Pettigrew, and many, many others. If you're going to speak with anyone when it comes to social equity, you need to speak with Black Excellence in Cannabis, and that's where it needs to start. We're here, we're the voices, not for just Washington State, we're the voices for the nation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asai. Okay, we're going to move online. We've got a couple of people signed up. First is Sammy Saad.
Can you hear me?
You bet.
Okay, I want to say hi to everyone. I am here on behalf of 12 Green. I'm the first pioneer on the cannabis. We started before the LCB. I'm on behalf as well on United Black and Cannabis Pioneer. Sami Saad, Aaron Barfield, the same Aaron Barfield with Mr. Manny. We all together and others, and as well as Kevin Shelton. We all created this. We've been left. We started this one since day one. And we oppose the HB 2870 and it should fail. And we was all joined together, me and Kevin and all of us, and as well as Peter Manning. And they told me this is not for us. And we're still being used. Mr. Ellie Garrett, she willing to help me publicly, but when I call her phone, she said, "Do not call my phone ever again." How is she gonna represent me? Mr. Melanie Morgan on a social equity, she meet with my community. That's the one she signed by, by the state. They say meet with your community and see what the problem to fix this issue. They listen to our community. We sit and we eat pizza by Matt Baker with all Sherry McCline from the city of Seattle, Melanie Morgan, and the communities, they said it. Those black people, they started first. It should be equal. They should get their license before anything else. It's still, we are not being helped. We are not against you guys, but at the same time, can you believe Jen Buchanan, he was dating Ellie Garrett, he got a license with Emil Hayes. So how, Mr. Ellie Garrett, you be fair and representing community, your boyfriend get a license? This should be investigated. Mr. Garza, you did not do anything for us. We are, all of us, even Mr. Black Excellent, we are not against you. Aaron Barfield, he is created a Black Excellent with you, and he's with us. And we made a decision. We are not against you. Come to us. But the thing is, we are too many. We are too many. And we represent our own self. Ellie Garrett, Paula Saldana, she don't represent me. She called my phone to tell me, don't speak about Ellie Garrett. I'll help you, but stay away from the groups. And Mr. Peter Manny, he was in three-way. Do you remember that, Mr. Peter Manny? I'm not against you, but all I'm trying to say, I'm not against even Paula Saldana. But we have to be fair. We have to help each other in a way. This is not for us. You guys, Mr. LCB, you guys in front of, you guys damaging the politician. Our communities are not going to vote for Mr. J. Governor J, you brought Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim, what did you do different? What did you do for the black people? We are previous cannabis pioneer owners. And now we are a group of people. We created United Black Cannabis Pioneers. I'm going to enhance this one. And you can see it in Facebook. Erin Barfield. I'm more. So you guys, if you guys really have, we should have first. Okay, I know you have 30 seconds. Second thing is, do you know you guys have most of these products in the market is affecting people, is not a good quality? You guys need to check those dispensaries. You guys need, this is making people sick too. People learning on people. This is not social, not equity. We need what we left. We lost thousands and thousands of dollars. 420 being closed and when. Yeah, this is not fair. This is fair, Mr. Garza. This is for the people. This is for people, you guys.
Okay, your time's up. Thank you. The next person we have signed up is David Busby. David?
You guys receiving okay?
You bet.
Cool, thanks. David Busby, Open THC. You might remember me from such boardroom hits as CCRS. The policy is good, but the technology is a little slow. And CCRS email is slow too, electric boogaloo. Well, anyways, you guys got it all sorted out. So I appreciate that. That's all I'm here for. I don't see anybody from the tech team on here, but shout out to the tech team for getting those issues sorted out for me. Thanks, I'm done.
Great. We'll make sure they do hear that. Thanks, David. Appreciate you coming back for that. Next person signed up is Novus Oak.
Good morning, Chair. Novus Oak did register to speak, but I did not see them online today.
Okay, all right, we'll check back after our next speaker just to make sure. Then the next person signed up is Christopher King.
Great morning, folks. How are you?
Great.
Great. I noticed you have a really negative attitude towards me, Mr. Postman, and I want to keep you in check on that. you say on one side of your face that it's okay for people to express frustration, but then when we do, you don't really care for it. I've always been professional with members of the board, except for one offhanded comment that I made when I was driving my car away a few weeks ago. That was after my speaking time. I've been completely professional with you. 95% of the time I show up and all I do is I ask for things to which I'm entitled as a member of the public. Documentation, going back to the 3 times that Kevin Shelton has come before this board during the so-called equity era and got nowhere, even with duly licensed counsel, and as well as M. Scott Soderbeer, an industry advocate, who gave up because he knew that the board wasn't doing anything. So there'll never be equity here because, we've had 7, 8, 9 years of built-in headwinds for these Black pioneers and other medical people who got lied to about being included in 502 and who just basically got left by the side of the road. Now, I want you to take a critical look at yourselves, okay? If you could possibly do that. What have you done for Blacks in cannabis since you've arrived? For Blacks in medicals and cannabis since you've arrived? There were thriving markets with good, pure strains of cannabis around. Lots of Blacks in the market. Now there are 0, except for Jim Buchanan, a known criminal and former paramour of Ollie Garrett. It's a fact, okay? I'm going to say that. And as a journalist, Mr. Postman, you know that that's relevant. It is. Sorry. You might not like it, but it's true. Now, they're the only raisins in the porridge to get any kind of juice thus far. Now, most people would say that's kind of, suspect. But in reality, so you've taken these thriving markets with these Black folks, they've disappeared. We've had years go by where nothing happened at all. And now we've got these grand promises. We've got everybody glad handing you guys, well, less so increasingly. And all these grand promises are coming. I hope you do well. I hope things going forward are better than they have been. It wouldn't take much, okay? But you've been walking around here pontificating as if you're driving around in some kind of a brand new Cadillac sitting on Vogues. What you really have is a busted up 71 Pinto sitting on 4 flat tires full of a tank of gas waiting to be taken out of its misery by a big tanker truck with failed brakes. That's what you have. You get an F for your efforts to date, period. It's just like when we were in high school, a tennis team. You go out and somebody says, how'd you do? You come back, oh, well, I played him tough, oh, blah, blah, blah. W or L, what did you do? You have been nothing but losers this entire time, and it's a fact. So next, we come to Rick Garza telling lies to Kevin Shelton. When we brought up the whole issue about all these, Vince Sears and these other cannabis places that have been open. Look, Vince Sears has been open for years. It's right next to Bloom. Bloom is one of your shops that's licensed. You can't tell me you didn't know about that area. Not only that, they have licenses with the state. It is registered on Dun and Bradstreet, for Christ's sakes, okay? But y'all didn't know? Heck, if you want enhanced police powers and you can't even figure that out, I don't think I'm in favor of giving you guys any enhanced police powers.
Christopher, you have 30 seconds.
Sure, thank you. So, all I've done is come before you asking for documents which you have steadfastly refused to provide me. You won't even you never gave me Sammy Saad's application. The federal judge lied about that. That's going in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals today. I asked you for the Kevin Shelton trail of information and documents and protocols for when people write in that you're supposedly engaged in. You never gave me that, okay? You just lie and you stall, and you've been
the 4
worst
minutes.
see I've ever seen in my entire life since I went to law school in 1990. I have to get back to work now. So do you. Goodbye.
Did Novus Oak join? Did you see? I don't see. Okay.
No, I don't see Novus on the register. today.
Okay, well, maybe the follow-up in writing. That's the end of our list today. I want to thank everybody who participated today. Just in brief response to some of the comments about what happens next, I'll just say, yeah, I hear you. I agree that the work now has to be done in the right way. We will do, I think we have a extraordinary program lined up where it will be publicized, where there will be many, many opportunities to interact and hear what's going on. as there has been. It may not be perfect, but we're committed to it. And like I said earlier, I think the board looks forward to being held accountable for making this happen. We also are smart enough to know we will be held accountable. We're not likely to fool anybody. So that's not our goal. There's nothing underhanded happening here. We've laid it out for you. And I think that every staff person who's involved in this understands that and is just as committed to this as any of the 3 board members, and we will make sure it happens. And I'm certain we'll have more conversations about it as we go on, but I look forward to seeing the program emerge and seeing people engage with it and getting the feedback on how that's going. And with that, we'll adjourn the board meeting for the 12th of October, 2022. Thank you all. Bye, Jim. Bye, Ally.
Thank you. Bye.